Welcome to Shanghai, China, for what I've no doubt is going to be a fantastic F1 qualifying session. So then, Ant, it's another Grand Prix weekend, another exciting qualifying session ahead of us. What are you going to be looking out for over the next few minutes?
The first question's going to be who can avoid making mistakes. There isn't much margin for error in qualifying, and you have to bear in mind that the track conditions may have changed since practice, particularly as we've had a few support races in the meantime. If the brake bias settings, for example, don't take this into account, it's extremely easy to lock up a front wheel and cause a flat spot. Just like that, your lap's ruined and you've wasted a set of tyres to boot.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top three: Hamilton, Bottas and Sebastian Vettel. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
Well done. Very solid result. You're looking good for the race.
It's time to find out which driver is up to the task of claiming the Chinese Grand Prix. We're here in Shanghai. The ever-tightening turns 1 and 2 will prove tricky in the slippery conditions here at Shanghai, and anyone that slides wide will lose a lot of time getting back on track. Turn 14 should still be the best place for overtaking, but we'll have to see some improvement in the weather before the drivers can take advantage of that DRS assistance. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about right. As with all the drivers at this level, they have a lot of ambition. But Formula One's a daunting step up from any other series, so expectations are high right from the start.
That's right, it is a difficult environment to come into. In junior categories, you're competing against drivers with similar levels of experience. But some of these guys in Formula One have been there for over a decade. But I have to say, in this case, it's so far so good.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Vettel, Leclerc, Max Verstappen and Albon, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Sainz and Daniel Ricciardo, Perez, Grosjean, Lando Norris and Kvyat, Raikkonen, Stroll, Wright and Pierre Gasly. Giovinazzi and George Russell ends our grid lineup. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Okay, you've qualified higher than we expected, so let's try to build on this position throughout the race. Been awarded a time penalty for that last incident. To the car in front is 14.1 seconds. This is your final lap of the race. The gap to the car ahead is 15.6 seconds. Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
So Mercedes have won it, and what a great race it was. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today. And now let's take a look at the driver's standings. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Some amazing talent out on the track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
Well, it's got to be Kevin Magnussen. He displayed exceptional skill out on the track today and wasn't afraid to fight his way through the pack.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. It was also a strong Grand Prix from Haas F1 this weekend. Fantastic work from the American team to move themselves further up the table. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it. It's the start of the season. How do you think things are going to go for you? How do you feel the weather affected the outcome today? Did you have the wrong fuel strategy today, or was it your management? Great. Well, that's everything.
Remember to select a driver that you consider your rival from the rivalry screen on the workstation. Performing well against your rival can earn you respect and better terms when it comes to our contract reviews.
Welcome to qualifying in the Republic of Azerbaijan. The teams are making their last-minute adjustments before the lights go green, and the fight for pole position can get underway. It always looked like the kind of track that asks an awful lot of the rear tyres, such as the frequency of low-speed exits.
No matter how good a driver is at managing their throttle application to limit rear slip, they can't always overcome a car that's inherently bad at looking after its rear tyres. Here we have a lot of low-speed corner exits, which means a whole load of energy, heat and tyre wear.
Sorry about that. Just wasn't our day.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Hamilton, Vettel and Charles Leclerc. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
Tough luck there. It's not quite where we'd want to be on the grid, but chin up, it's not the end of the world.
Good afternoon and welcome to Baku. This was the arena, if you think back to 2017, of one of the most eventful races of modern history, with controversy behind the safety car, last-second overtakes, and a historic podium for Williams and for Lance Stroll. So let's find out what lies in store for us this year. It's time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. With 20 turns and a length of 3.7 miles, Baku City Circuit in the heart of the Azerbaijan capital is a real test of a driver's endurance, patience and precision. 90-degree corners through Sector 1 lead into a tightening uphill sprint as we start to circle around the old city. Then a 1.4-mile chase flat out through Sector 3 towards the finish line. Anthony Davidson is here once again for today's Grand Prix. Let's talk about Wright. They're still relatively new to a sport which does have a high learning curve and, of course, little tolerance for mistakes.
And this is something that has ended the career of many a young driver, as that leap up to Formula One proves to be too much. But luckily in this case, I'd say they're doing a good, solid job, and the risk the team took in signing them is definitely starting to pay off.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Bottas, Sergio Perez, and Albon, Stroll, Magnussen, Hülkenberg, and Roman Grosjean. Giovinazzi, Vettel, Daniel Ricciardo, and Raikkonen, Sainz, Norris, George Russell, and Daniel Kvyat, Gasly, and Wright. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Okay, be wary of the cars ahead braking suddenly into one. We could ruin our race if we hit them. Good luck. DRS has been enabled. We will start to see a loss of power. Signs of wear, power output will be down. Okay, take it easy on the car. We can't sustain this level of damage. Gap to car in front is 2.5 seconds. This is your final lap of the race. race over, take care of the car on the way in.
That's it for another Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Mercedes. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
I have to give it to Wright. They pushed and found some fantastic performance. It was just a pleasure to watch.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Meanwhile, good work from Racing Point this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it. You gained a lot of positions during the race, didn't you? You really looked in control of your car out there. Your team must be thrilled. Do you have any comments about the collisions? You left a lot of paint on the walls today. Were you struggling for grip, or did you just misjudge some cord? Well, thanks anyway.
Here we can adjust the terms of our proposal. The more ambitiously we set our targets, the more willing the team will be to give us better perks. We'll have a few chances to suggest a deal, but we need to be careful. If a proposed contract exceeds your value to the team, it will be rejected, and too many attempts will leave us stuck with the original offer. We're asking for too much here. We need to make some compromises. Our proposal has been accepted. The new contract will take effect from the next race weekend. Winning rivalries is a great way to earn respect from your team and around the paddock, which will help make it easier to negotiate favourable contracts. Your first rival is always your teammate, but you can choose who to declare as your second. The harder the rival from the eligible selection, the more respect you stand to gain or lose depending on the result.
Qualifying's about to kick off any moment here at the Circuit Barcelona Catalunya. No doubt that today will be full of action on the track. So then, Ant, it's another Grand Prix weekend, another exciting qualifying session ahead of us. What are you going to be looking out for over the next few minutes?
The first question's going to be who can avoid making mistakes. There isn't much margin for error in qualifying, and you have to bear in mind that the track conditions may have changed since practice, particularly as we've had a few support races in the meantime. If the brake bias settings, for example, don't take this into account, it's extremely easy to lock up a front wheel and cause a flat spot. Just like that, your lap's ruined, and you've wasted a set of tyres to boot.
Nice job.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top three today. Hamilton, Bottas and Sebastian Vettel. Goodbye for now then, but we're really just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Well done. That was a good qualifying performance.
Good afternoon from a very familiar setting. It's race day here in Spain, and with everything still to play for in the championship battle, there's no room for mistakes in a Grand Prix that's well known for creating them. The Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, a track that will certainly force the drivers to push themselves. It consists of a very impressive main straight going into turn 1. It's a straight that also offers a DRS zone, so it's likely to be a hot spot for overtakes. Anthony Davidson is alongside me as usual for the race today. Let's talk about Wright. As with all the drivers at this level, they have a lot of ambition. But Formula One's a daunting step up from any other series, so expectations are high right from the start.
That's right, it is a difficult environment to come into. In junior categories, you're competing against drivers with similar levels of experience. But some of these guys in Formula One have been there for over a decade. But I have to say, in this case, it's so far so good.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Leclerc, Max Verstappen and Albon, Wright, Grosjean, Raikkonen and Carlos Sainz, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Sergio Perez and Ricciardo, Kvyat, Gasly, Lando Norris and George Russell, Giovinazzi and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
We're in a very good position today. Let's see if we can do even better in the race. What happened? Let me know you're okay. Great starting position for us. Let's see if we can improve on that in the race. Strategy is available on the MFD. Got that confirmed? Stewards have given you a 3-second time penalty for contact with other cars. That's 3 seconds to be added to our race time. We're higher on the grid than we expected. Let's see if we can do even better. Engine off, engine off.
And Mercedes have pulled off a great victory here today. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it. Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. It wasn't the best weekend for our championship leader, and their advantage at the top has been reduced. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Lance Stroll certainly put in an impressive performance today. No doubt his team and fans are extremely proud.
Let's move on to the constructors. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see...
Commiserations on that result. It's been a tough weekend. Looks like one of your rivals is also going to an upcoming historical event. If you choose to take him on, it might help get your name out there a bit.